Welcome back to the final installment on the topic of functions. So without further delay, let's get started. As I mentioned, this particular video is all about graphical representation of a function, right? Define f to be the function graphed above. Give the y-intercept of the graph of the function g, which is defined as g of x equals f of x. Okay, how do we typically find y-intercept? If we set x equals 0, that means g of 0 equals f of 4 times 0. In other words, g of 0 equals f of 0, right? So at what point, if x equals 0, y equals, if x equals 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means y equals -4. This is your x equals 0, right? So y equals -4. When these two functions are equal, that means the intersection point is 0, -4. This is your x, and this is your y. I don't see a choice that corresponds to this combination, so the correct answer is none of the above. All right, define f to be the function graphed above. Which of the following is an x-intercept of the graph of the function g if g is defined as g of x equals f of x plus 3. G of x equals, because we are given x-intercept, y equals 0. Okay, in other words, we're saying g of x is equal to 0, implies f of x f of x plus 3 equals 0. So f of x equals -3, right? So if y equals, in other words, this is y equals -3, right? So 1, 2, 3, this is y equals -3. At this point, what are the x-intercepts? So if you draw a line this way and raise one up, this is approximately x equals -12. Similarly, if you go on this side and touch this one and raise up, x equals 2. So that means when y equals 0, x can be -12, y equals 0, x can be 2. So the options you can have are -12 times 0 or 2, 0. I think only -12, 0 is the answer choice. So that is the correct answer. Okay, let's proceed further. Evaluate f of g of 4. This is the g graphical function. This is the f graphical function. Okay, how do we normally define this function? Is f of g of x, right? That means x equals 4. In other words, when x equals 4 on the graphical g function, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, you draw a line straight down and you draw a line across. That means y equals -4 when x equals 4, right? So that means g of 4 equals -4. So what is f of g of 4? That is same as writing f of -4, right? That means 1, 2, 3, 4. This is x equals -4. That means you draw a line straight down and you draw a line across. That's y equals -2. In other words, f of g of 4 is same as f of -4 is same as -2. Okay. Let's evaluate f inverse of g of 4. As far as g of 4 is exactly the same, just like how we did in the previous problem. The question is asking f inverse of g of x, right? That's the way you have to interpret it. Okay, that means g of 4 implies x equals 4, and we know x equals 4 is y equals -4. In other words, f inverse of g of f inverse of g of 4 is same as f inverse of -4, right? When we have inverse of -4, instead of us going 1, 2, 3, 4 in the x direction, now we have to go -1, 2, 3, 4 in the y direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you draw a line across. This is y equals -4. That means x equals -8. So in other words, f inverse of g of 4 is -8. Okay. Define f and g to be the functions graphed above, for which of the following value of x is a statement f minus g times x equals 0 is a true statement. Okay. When you say f minus g of x equals 0, it's same as writing f of x minus g of x equals 0. In other words, f of x equals g of x, right? Here, and then it's also asking for which of the following values of x is the statement, right? When x equals 0, assuming x equals 0, y equals 1, right? X equals 0, y equals 1, right? Similarly, if the statement the other way around is true, that means it's 1 and 0, right? If y equals 1, x equals 0. In either case, it's 0, 1. That means the x value is 0. All right, define f as a function graphed above. Define function g of x equals x squared minus 11. Evaluate f of g of 4. You're asked to evaluate f of g of 4, right? That means g of x equals x squared minus 11. So g of 4 would be 4 squared minus 11. 16 minus 11 equals 5. So f of g of 4 is same as f of 5, right? That means it will be f of g of f of g of 4, f of 5 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? It will be -1, right? Remember, this is same as f of g of x, right? That means g of x was initially 4. Now f of x is 5, which means you go 5 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you draw down, and then you figure out what the value of y is. So when x equals 5, y equals -1. And that's it. We got one more problem, and that will be the end of the series on the topic of functions. Okay. Define f to be the function graphed above. Which of the following is an x-intercept of the graph of the function if g is defined as g of x equals f times x plus y? As we did before, since we are asked to find the x-intercept, let's assume y equals 0. That means g of x equals 0 implies f of x plus 5 equals 0. Okay. What are the x-intercept points on the line? I think it's -8, -2, and 5, 1.5. Okay, which are these points. Okay, that means if f of x plus 5 equals 0, in other words, x plus 5 should be equal to -8, right? At x being negative, what x being, see this term is equal to 0, right? This whole thing is equal to 0. That means x plus 5 had been -8, so x equals -13. Okay. Similarly, negative x plus 5 equals -2, so x equals -7, and x plus what is it, 11 and a half equals, what is it? Sorry, x plus 5 equals 11 and a half, right? So x equals 1/2. Okay, that means the intercept points are -13, 0, because y is 0, right? -7, 0, and 1/2, 0. I think -7, 0 is the only choice provided here. So that is the correct answer. Okay. This problem is quite unique compared to all other problems we've done, even the ones that didn't have a graph, because we set the y, we have to determine the x-intercept, which means we set y is equal to 0. That means g of x equals 0. Now, see what this really means when we say g of x equals f of x plus 5 is, let's say it's y equal to some x term. That's what it really translates to. In other words, this is equal to 0 when we say x-intercept. So that's why we said g of x equals 0, which means f of x plus 5 equals 0, right? That means at x being -13, then -13 plus 5 would give you -8. So we're kind of backtracking to figure out what the x value could have been. So we equated the x plus 5 to the current x-intercept values, which are -8, -2, and 5.5, which gave us the x values of -13, -7.5. So our y-intercept is 0. That means these are the intercept points. And based on that, we look through and figure out which one would give us the correct answer, and only -7, 0, provided it's the only answer choice available. So that's it. If you've learned something, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching. And if you're interested to see more videos on the topic of functions, I do have a few more problems that I can record a video and post it to my channel. If you do need to see more video on this topic of functions, please let me know in the comments box below. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for more content in the topic of SAT mathematics. I'll see you soon.